Hey guys, today we're driving the 2023 BMW X1. This is the xDrive28i. It's powered by a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder that's mated to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. We have a much more spacious interior in this 2023 X1. It's been refreshed and updated for this model year. Let's walk you around this car today. We'll show you what it looks like inside and out. We'll take it for a drive and give you guys some thoughts on what it's been like to live with this week. Let's start on the outside. Love this color. This is called Utah Orange Metallic, and I believe it's a $650 option. It's well worth it. It's a really sharp color on this X1. Pretty well priced luxury compact crossover. Under $40,000 starting price for this 2023 X1. As spec, this is about 46 grand. We have a premium package, a few other small options. I'll include all that detail in the description, but from the onset, for BMW's entry-level SUV, this seems to be pretty well priced and pretty well packaged. This is a front-wheel drive based platform shared with the likes of some of Mini Cooper's SUVs, but ultimately it's all-wheel drive, and it kind of offers everything consumers want. A nice spacious package. We've got a lot of trunk space, automatic lifting tailgate, pretty decent standard features, lacking a couple things, but to get you into the BMW brand and this luxury space, I think it's a pretty nice overall package. Let's check out the rear seats. A lot of room back here. These seats do fold down individually, 40, 20, 40, which is kind of cool. You do have to fold them down by pulling these straps, so that can be a little bit tedious. There's no way to fold these seats down from the rear hatch area. But in the back, there's quite a bit of room in here. A lot of headroom, a lot of vertical height in this crossover. Nice panoramic sunroof. I've got space to put my legs and stretch out underneath the front seats. We get a couple of USB-C ports right here, vents. Very nice interior space, and look up front. Quite attractively designed too. For 40 grand or the mid 40s, this is a really, really nice looking interior. Look at these Harman Kardon speaker grills too. There's some scratchier, harder plastics kind of below the belt line of this interior, but everything you look at and touch feels very nice. It's reasonably fuel efficient too, rated for 34 miles to the gallon on the highway, 25 in the city, for about a 28 mpg rating, which is exactly what I've averaged this week. Let's pop the hood, take a look at this B48 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder. Makes 241 horsepower, 7-speed dual clutch. Not the best transmission pairing, if I'm being honest. There's quite a bit of turbo lag from this 2-liter turbo, and the stop-start system is quite annoying in this car. I would prefer a traditional torque converter automatic in something like this. There are some other powertrains offered in other markets, but this is what we get right now for the US. And I believe there is a spicy M40 or M something version coming out soon with a more powerful engine. All right, let's hop up front and show you around this interior just a little bit. So we get the new BMW iDrive 8 system, connects to CarPlay and Android Auto wirelessly. A lot of screens, a lot of graphics. We've seen this in a lot of BMWs that we've tested recently. We get some physical controls that are actual buttons, not haptic controls, which I do like. 2-seat memory settings. Look at these door handles. That's really cool. We've got a touch screen here and no iDrive scroll wheel, which is kind of interesting. They've done away with that, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. I miss it. So you can only use this as a touch screen, which can be a bit tedious when you're on the road, driving, moving around. There are some deeper menus in this X1. You can select some shortcuts up here, which is nice. So once you kind of start using this car a bit more, you can figure out what you want to put there. Climate controls are all in the screen. You can choose automatic programming. The difference in fan volume from very low to low is quite big, so I've been turning off automatic programming and just using manual programming here and temperature control. You got a heated steering wheel, you've got heated seats, but again, no physical buttons for those things. I feel like heated seats and heated steering wheel should be physical buttons, not hidden in the infotainment, covering everything else that you're looking at. We've got a bunch of different menus and settings and customizable features. You can choose between infotainment apps, vehicle apps. We've got a head-up display that you can customize there. Lots of drive modes, personal, sport, efficient. Personal gives us this kind of interesting power meter here, like you would see almost in an electric car. Sport mode gives us a regular tachometer. And we even get some BMW iconic sounds here. So you can turn on engine sound, which, if I'm being honest, doesn't really do much. I can't really tell that much of a difference between iconic sounds on or off. A few driving assistance settings. We have some things turned off in this car. And then no button to turn off automatic engine stop start. You have to go pretty deep into a menu to find that, or you can make it a shortcut and find it pretty quickly. But it does cycle on every time you restart the vehicle. A few constant controls here to the left side of the screen, media, navigation, and that'll take you to kind of whatever you're using as your navigation system, whether it's in CarPlay or Android Auto or the native BMW navigation system. So no major surprises here with this new BMW iDrive 8 system. The screen is a little bit small, but it works. It's reasonably responsive, but it could be better. And ultimately, I don't know, I think it's a little bit tedious to use and a little bit distracting. That's my review on the infotainment. Otherwise, everything's pretty nice in here. You've got a tiny little center console and then a lot of room underneath this piece right here that is good to store things. You got a kind of a rubber lined material at the bottom so stuff doesn't slide around. I like the location of these cup holders. You can fit a pretty tall water bottle right here. And then look at this. This is very neat. I haven't seen anything like this in a car yet. You know how when you go on the roller coaster and they put you in there with that bar and you can hold on to it? It's almost like a seat belt, but it's like a safety bar. Well, BMW has put a safety bar in for your phone so it doesn't slide around on the wireless charging element. How brilliant is that? Look at that. I love that. Nice comfortable seats. Classic BMW crumb collector down there. Nice spacious glove box. You've got physical controls there for your defrost, front and rear. A couple other things like lighting settings here that takes you into the menu. There we go. Ambient lighting. You turn that on and off. Cockpit brightness. And you've got volume slider here. Parking camera button, which I quite like. Cameras look pretty good in this X1. Forward facing, rear facing, 360. And then all of your drive modes, which we went over earlier. We'll start off in personal mode. Okay, let's go for a drive and get some time in this BMW X1. We have backup assistant. Should we start back? We never do self-parking in these cars. Might be worth a shot. Let's see what happens. Will it do a good job? We're going to press the accelerator and brake manually, and it's going to steer itself. Let's see if it steers us out of this parking area. This is always so freaky. This isn't necessarily the route I would take to get out of here, but I guess it works. Oh, we're getting really close to that curb. I guess it just wants us to kind of reverse for eternity. Okay, we're gonna go forward. Okay. Steering is super light at low speeds. Pretty fast ratio too. Good turning radius. Love the visibility in this X1. The greenhouse here is just fantastic. You feel like you're sitting nice and high. You can see your kind of corners of the vehicle very well. Panoramic sunroof adds an openness and an airiness to this cabin, which is very welcome. Suspension's a bit on the stiff side. For a vehicle in this class, it's a bit harsh, a bit firm, and it doesn't necessarily translate to desirable handling. It's just kind of a bit bouncy. Interior is very quiet at speed though. BMW's done a very nice job isolating you from the exterior potholes, bumps, elements. NVH is a big improvement from the previous X1. And then we get to the stop-start system. This is probably my biggest complaint about this car. Paired with this dual clutch transmission, it takes maybe 2 seconds between putting your foot down and the car taking off. In my opinion, it's a bit of a safety issue, especially if you're trying to merge out into traffic. You're at a stop sign, a stoplight, and you're trying to make kind of a quick gap. It can really throw you off and put you into kind of a dangerous situation. So I'm going to take my foot off the brake and put my foot on the accelerator, and we'll see how long it takes for the car to take off. Huge delay. So this is something that automatically turns on every time you start up a vehicle. You have to manually turn it off. In city driving, it is infuriating to live with. And it also kind of turns off about 2 or 3 miles per hour before you get to a stop. So every stop sign, it's turning off. You're lurching forward. There's a huge delay between your inputs and the car leaving the light. I hate it. BMW really needs to address the tuning here and solve this. I have a feeling part of it is because this has a dual clutch transmission. Anyway, most stop-start systems in modern vehicles, they just kind of operate in the background. They're not distracting. They're not an issue. This I have a lot of issues with. So if you turn it off, it's fine. If you put your gear selector in low mode, it doesn't engage. If you put it in sport mode, stop-start turns off, which is kind of nice. But there's no physical button to turn the system off. You have to go through either a bunch of menus or select it in your favorites. And yeah, it's been one of my big complaints about this BMW X1 this week, unfortunately. Otherwise, this powertrain is just okay. Like I said earlier, there is quite a bit of turbo lag from this 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. No paddle shifters behind the wheel, no manual gear selection from this X1. You just get this low mode and sport mode, which works okay. But ultimately, as an exciting driving experience, this car doesn't really offer a whole lot. Again, put my foot down on the accelerator, about a second later, this thing decided to take off. Let's go into sport mode and see how this handles. I really like the inputs with a turn signal. If you're going to use your turn signal in your BMW X1, it feels fantastic. A lot of complaining from the Continentals here. Not a lot of grip, not a lot of chassis balance, just a lot of understeer. If you're looking for really good BMW handling, I would look elsewhere, higher up in the lineup. But then again, the buyers of this car aren't necessarily looking for that ultimate driving experience. They're just looking for the badge, the nice premium cabin and luxury out of this interior. But dynamically, I've got to say this is a little bit of a disappointment, but also not a surprise given that it's based on the kind of front-wheel drive platform. I think the big limitation is the tire. These Continentals just don't have a lot of mechanical grip, and they do complain quite a bit around the corner. At highway speeds, though, very quiet, very, very nice to live with on the highway. We just get regular cruise control. No driving assistance package in this X1, though that is an option. Should be standard, I think, in a car like this, and pretty much all cars these days. I feel like adaptive cruise and lane centering, driving assistance should be a standard feature, but it isn't. At least it's an easy system to operate, and at least this is a very quiet car to drive on the highway, and very fuel efficient, up to 34 miles to the gallon on the highway here. Head-up display telling us lots of useful information up there too. We have passive dampers in this BMW X1, so no adaptive suspension. Power's good. Once you get into boost, this pulls nicely. Bit of a blind spot at that rear 3/4 view, but for the most part, really nice visibility in this crossover. Ultimately, I'd say the dynamics of this car are surprisingly below average for the class. But what it does offer, its strong suits are this interior for the money is really, really nice. It feels very premium. You get into a BMW SUV for less than $40,000 or mid-40s with a couple options. And that is probably the most attractive thing about this X1. The packaging is really quite well done. It's a lot more spacious than some of the competitors, especially like the Audi Q3, for example. There's a lot of interior room, a lot of practical, usable space in this car, and it's an easy car to live with relatively. Besides my couple complaints about the infotainment system being a bit tedious and the stop-start system just being horrible to live with, the rest of this car is all right. It's kind of a mixed bag, but ultimately for the money, I don't think it's a bad buy. I don't think this is a phenomenal effort from BMW. There are definitely some better cars in the lineup, but again, this just gets you into the brand for an affordable price, and at that, it's very successful. While we're sitting at this light, let's do a quick sound system test. We have a Harman Kardon sound system that sounds pretty good in this X1. Volume controls down here and on the steering wheel with the plus-minus buttons. There's a lot of bass here. Quick idea of what that's like. Going over our bumpy section of road here. Pretty bouncy with the suspension. At least NVH is pretty well controlled over these bumps. You're just going to be bouncing around a little bit. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up our thoughts on the 2023 BMW X1. No park button, you just turn the car off. You can engage the parking brake right there. And that's a drive in the 2023 X1 xDrive28i. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments. I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned for more later this week. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Cool looking key fob. So we've got active grille shutters. Those were closed earlier. Bit of a warm day out today, about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, so those opened up to give us just a little bit extra engine cooling for that B48.